So in this video, I want to show you exactly how I make 30 to 50K per month in profit with no sales calls, no team in 4 to 6 hours a day. I've got that one proximity offer that I talk about time and time again that you may have heard. And I don't want to use any like fancy slides or edits or anything like that. What I do want you to know is that there are lots of strategies out there. There's many best ways of doing things and everything sort of works, right? Like you can go low ticket and sell loads of volume. You can go high ticket. You can scale a big team. You can choose to do sales calls or not. But for me, what's more important is you find what works for you, what is aligned for you. And I want to simply just use this video to share what works for me and, in hopes that maybe some of it will resonate with you. You can have two versions of this, right? Like number one is you can build a life that is built to serve your own business. Or number two, the other way around, is you can have a business that is built to serve your own life. Now, for example, if I look back in 2020, I hit my first 30K ever. Then I closed a 96K app build at the agency that I founded. And shortly after, we got an 120K per year retainer for a fintech company to manage their social media annually. And that to me, like, absolutely blew my mind because business was the most important thing for me. It was what I lived for, what I woke up for, and I would sacrifice anything and everything for that to work out, right? Like, I remember on the outside, it was like the third year in a row that we got the Clutch.co Best Agency Award. We did a raise that was 1.2 million with an in-game ads agency that I owned shares of externally. We were working with like FIFA and EA Sports for FIFA 2021. So we were getting all of this recognition as dev partners and social media partners for people. But on the inside, honestly, I remember feeling really stressed. Like I had a core team of 5 at the peak, and 3 contractors that were overseas helping us sort of code and manage our social media and email marketing for clients. And at the time, we relied very heavily on like referrals, on outbound emails and sales calls in order to get clients. We were sort of testing out ads and a bit of SEO here and there, but the core of it was like just pushing, right, for it to work. And looking back, I was a smoker for a long time. I went out a lot, it's like a Mediterranean thing. But I drank heavily, I smoked heavily. I was like living the sort of nightlife thing. And in 2023, I remember burning out. Like I sat in the car, palpitations, called the doctor, went there, and they diagnosed me with very high blood pressure. And since then, I had to get on this pill that I take every single day of my life. And obviously, they did say there was an element of it that was genetic, but a lot of it was stress induced, right? So that was a little wake-up call. And then, I had lost my grandfather, who meant a lot to me at the time. He was an entrepreneur back in his time, but that moment sort of like got me to reflect a little bit, and I decided to build a business around my life, not the other way around. And it had to do with a model I call now the modern maker way, or this modern maker roadmap that I put together over time. And today I would love for you to sort of pick and choose what feels aligned, what resonates from what I'm about to tell you. But at the end of the day, it's for you to decide and find a model that suits your energy, your ways of working, right? So that comes down to 3 things. And this model, like the first thing is the offer. Your offer is the number one deciding factor of what it is you do, because you got to find that thing you sell and you got to find how you sell it. So in 2021 or 2022, I was obsessed with like Alex Hormozy, as most of us were, right? So I built my agency, the web and social media stuff. We did like 350 to 400K a year. I had the whole, irresistible offer and the guarantees, the big, huge promises, would support anyone with a heartbeat and a credit card and just stick through it overnight. And got to a point where my coding skills were great, but I started hiring people to replace me. And I was coding, writing, strategizing, managing. I was literally everywhere at this point. And people bought me as a person. I was like the front man of the agency. And I couldn't scale it properly because deep down, I started resenting the business. I knew the coding side, the agency thing wasn't for me. It was a lot more, I would say, complex and hard to do something that didn't align. So as a result of all of that, I had to pay bills. Most of my employees had kids and I felt responsible. So I jumped on LinkedIn as a cry for help. And I started posting to pick up consulting to pay my own bills and to, sort of increase the buffer in revenue or profit rather for the agency. And whatever we were doing for social media clients, I started doing for myself. And it was the first time I put myself out there. And I remember putting up a call on Calendly for $125 an hour. And it sort of started funding itself, right? Like I got this little bit of hope, got another call and made like my first $700 outside the agency as a mentor, if you like. And people were booking these calls, asking me questions about how to run their own business, or they were creatives or coaches, consultants who wanted help on the marketing side of things. And that's when I sort of said, oh, this is a little aha moment. Like, there's so much leverage in talking to someone and being able to help them. And that's where I founded the idea of the Modern Maker. And I remember I charged for the first time, it was $2,500 for 12 weeks of one-on-one. And somebody said yes. So I sent these little DMs to people that were interacting with my content, did a little bit of outbound at the time, and I got 8 people to say yes in a period of what was like 14 to 20 days after I built like, I would say 5,000 or 6,000 followers. And it blew my mind. I made like my first 20K one-on-one. Obviously, some people had like payment plans, some people paid in full. And this really opened my eyes because within that really short time period, I could deliver the same sort of work in no more than 8 hours a week, whereas at the agency, I was like sweating it to build apps and websites and, manage clients and all of that. So the delivery being in 8 hours was legit mind-blowing to me. So this was in March of 2023, I would say. Now, around about July, if I remember correctly, I decided to launch Modern Maker, the group. So it was 1,250 for 6 months. We live and learn. And 12 people said yes. So I was like, this is incredible. Then I ran it again and upped the price to 1,500. I was still in sort of self-discovery, and 8 people said yes to that. So I had another total of 20 people at that price range. And it was literally like a Google Drive or a Notion doc. And then we would meet up and I would build it as I was selling it or selling while I was building it. And that was the foundation of what it is today. So it literally consisted of the 2 tiers that spawned out of experimenting, right? Which was basically one offer with these 2 tiers. Tier 1 was one-on-one coaching with me, and tier 2 was the group. Now, people that were in the group or working with me one-on-one got the same resources, the same tools. The only difference was the people that were working with me one-on-one also got a call a week and some Telegram access to me, whereas the group members only got, at the time I had Slack, nowadays it's School, and the weekly call. And it sort of blew my mind a little bit because, if you think of the offer, I call this now the proximity offer. Say you help therapists get clients on LinkedIn, as an example. You can have your one-on-one and you can have your group, and there's two ways for them to opt in. And I remember reading Hormozy, spilling out the beans on weekly pricing for the first time ever. And I was like, whoa. So I had 200 a week working with me one-on-one later, and then 100 a week for the group, and all of a sudden the velocity of people coming in started to rise. So giving people two options became a no-brainer. Now, weekly prepaid discounts, all of that has many, many reasons that I'm not going to get into today. But the point is, I started letting go of complexity. I create content, people start vibing with me, they resonate, and then you start giving them access to you because you've just productized yourself. You are the product. So one offer, two tiers of proximity, and then you start to make the selling process a lot easier. And that's how I started getting 30 to 50K in profit eventually. Now, number two is acquisition. And to me, acquisition is split into two. Number one is the push model. That's you sort of hunting for leads, outbound calls, DMs. And number two is the pull model, which attracts, right? The push model is light on marketing, whereas the pull model is very heavy on marketing. So in turn, the pull model that is heavy on marketing is light on sales, and vice versa. So that is why my acquisition for Modern Maker is about 80% automated right now. I'm selling offers between 2 to 30K plus, all in these little Google Docs through automation, like words on text, no sales calls, no DMs, none of that. Everything comes inbound. And I do this with three really important tiers. Number one is my social channel. So for 2 years, I was on LinkedIn. And now I've started Instagram as well. But to build an audience of 45K, I think it's about 47K now on LinkedIn and 2K on Instagram, that is my top of funnel. That's where I build super targeted content that dog whistles to my ideal clients. They see who I am, they read the posts, and that is like the first part of my content ecosystem. Number two is YouTube, just like this video now. That is the platform where I allow people to go a little bit deeper with me, because before YouTube, I would put up tons and tons of content out there just to get people to know me. But after YouTube, I've got about 1K followers at this present moment, but I've got videos with like 200 hours of watch time. So that creates bingeability. If somebody watches 2 to 3 hours of content, they just come to me with no CTA and they ask, how do I work with you? So this is sort of the MoFu side of the content, right? And the part of the acquisition. So that's where the process where you pull a lot and not push starts to happen. So that's YouTube being number two. And it is one of the most important parts of it. And just like this video, I launched these little indoctrination videos like the one you're just watching that shows people who I am. It tells a bit of my story, shows my essence, and describes the model, the process, or the unique mechanism of how you do things. Number three for me is email, right? So I get people from socials and YouTube into my email list where I make them micro offers to turn them from leads to customers and then from customers to clients, right? So I write a story-driven email every day. I love that side of it. And then just make these little micro offers that are passive to get people through that cycle. Now, once you've got these three pieces installed, instead of having to do outbound, find people, push them, sell to them, your content does the heavy lifting for you, right? And if there's one takeaway I'd love for you to remember from today is that good marketing equals easy sales. Bad marketing equals hard sales. So if I spend time getting clients when I put my head down, I create content that is selling for me daily, whether I'm there or not, 24/7 all around the clock without having to rely on like scaling teams and all of that. So it's how I've signed 250 plus clients and worked with 2,500 customers who bought something once off, and done 1.19 million solo since 2023 in profit, right? So the last piece of this is driving urgency and scarcity, but doing it in a way that is, I would say, ethical, because a lot of people do this unethically. I do this by being mostly closed instead of being always open, right? A lot of people are just open at any time. And I do this by building these little wait lists where people can apply to join. And it allows people to, make an easier decision, a faster decision. And there's lots of sort of pieces to setting this up. But, having a wait list is where being open and closed, it shifts from push energy into pull energy. So remember, good marketing is therefore easy sales. And I do that with one social channel, or now 2 social channels, YouTube and email. Now, the third pillar of me having 30 to 50K months since, December 2024 now, that's been consistent, is leverage. And, the big secret is I've been doing this for a while now. I've built an audience. Of course, you can still do it with a smaller audience, but I build systems that work for me. After reading Naval Ravikant's book, The Almanac, he talks a lot about building leverage. A lot of my students or clients hire VAs or use automations. I choose automation where, I can build an SOP or a little process. If I ever need to hire, I've got it all mapped out. But I use software and AI. So if you opt into any one of my lead magnets or DM me on Instagram, the whole process is automated with a tool called ManyChat, right? So when you leverage these tools and pair it with your acquisition and pull marketing, it starts to work really, really well. And that's what's literally unlocked the 30 to 50K in profit for me over time. Now, number 4 is a bonus that I've left until the very end, which to me is mastering your inner energy. And by doing the inner work, you become a leader that is worth following. I used to hustle. I used to ignore my nervous system, my soul, my body's signals, and, my childhood traumas and bad psychology. So if you're stuck, you're likely chasing another strategy instead of looking at your energy. The strategy is the easy part. That works, if your emotional state or your psychological state is in check. So I always break it down into emotion, psychology, skills, and strategy. Now, for me, emotion and psychology are the most important things that we shouldn't neglect, and they've served me a lot more than the strategy. They are simply the biggest needle movers in my life, in my business, beyond content, offers, funnels, and all of that. So we've covered a lot. I can be here for a long, long time. I just wanted to give you a flavor of what this is. And I want you to know there's a million different ways to get to, 20, 30, 50, 100K a month. There's no right way of doing things. I've just sort of talked about what works for me. And I always say to clients, you be by existing, you do something really cool, and you document it out in public. And same here, I literally show my students, show my clients what I do, and I help find what works for them. I got a message from my student Mike inside Modern Maker, who just hit a 30K month with one part-time VA, no sales calls, no ads, just the following, right, on Substack and on Medium. Now he's recently moved to LinkedIn. Also, my client Nigel had a 52K month in March and then a 62K month in April. It's just him and his business partner, 100% inbound through LinkedIn with email, and a couple of YouTube videos. So if you're interested in how I do this and how you can learn to do some of this or all of this too, I just invite you to reach out. by DMing me the word maker on Instagram, and you'll get sent all of the info with no sales calls. None of that is needed. It's super easy to come into the community if you want, of course. And I hope you found this video useful. So sending you a big, big hug, power to you, and I'll talk to you in the next video.